how things could be this way. I guess we'd better tell them this is a brand new day. Don't leave it up to the other man or to another day. Take your life into your hands, make it work out your way. It's not the number of times you stumble down and fall upon the ground. It's the number of times you pick yourself up and keep on moving on to meet your goal. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Herbert Harris and Success Supper. Oh, wow, you've heard the Last Supper. Well, this is the Success Supper. We've been doing Monday through Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And each night we take a topic from our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. It's available on Amazon and almost all of the other digital websites. And of course, it's available on our website, www.herbertharris.com. Oh, wow. There's so many of you on Instagram. Thanks for joining us. And on Facebook Live. You know, we've been going through the law of thought. Yesterday, we talked a bit about the thought and how your thought has two aspects. You know, the rational aspect. A mind shall have whatsoever it thinks in its heart. Thank you. Moonlight Rose, thank you so much. From Cairo, beautiful. Wow, I was in Cairo and I visited the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. So welcome. So when we think about the law of thought, everything we do begins in thought. Earl Nightingale said, you become what you think about most of the time. And so we talked yesterday a bit about how your thoughts form the foundation for your life and how out of those thoughts, you know, you have thoughts about yourself, you have thoughts about others, you have thoughts about the world, your world outlook, and some of the things that impact your thought. You know, your thoughts, of course, your upbringing, your childhood, your environment, and the people around you. And today we want to deal with a very touchy subject. I say touchy because it's a subject that, you know, we don't really like to deal with it. And it's called self-image. Now, it's important that we deal with it because our self-image is the starting point for our life experience. Everything we do is through the lens of our self-image, how we see ourselves. And so if we see ourselves as victims, then everything that happens confirms that we're victims. On the other hand, if we see ourselves as victors, then everything confirms that we're victors. And it's all about how you look at it. You know, Thomas Edison, very interesting, and a great thought here, and attitude and how you look at stuff. A news reporter was interviewing him once, and Mr. Edison had failed to identify the filament, this metal thing that they needed to be the heart of the light bulb that could burn and glow to produce light. And all of the materials they tried, when they got to a certain temperature, they broke apart or they melted. And so this newspaper reporter said, Mr. Edison, why do you keep going? Why do you keep trying? You have failed over 3,000 times to identify this element, this piece for the so-called light bulb. And Edison said, I have never failed, young man. I have successfully identified 3,000 ways that will not work. And so how you look at yourself, your thoughts are critical. So when we think about this self-image thing, you'll hear people sometimes say, well, I have low self-esteem. And if you watch some of the Jerry Springer shows, and not knocking them, I like watching them, and some of the other shows, I guess, semi-reality shows. And a person said, well, I have low self-esteem, and as a result, I permitted myself to be in the bad situation, and I let people take advantage of me, and they treated me like a doormat. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. But more importantly, is how you see yourself, because believe me, the two will eventually balance out. So how you see yourself. And so the idea is, how do you know if you have a poor self-image. You know, it's interesting. I've really never heard a person say, I have low self-image. I've heard people say, I have low self-esteem, but I never heard a person say, I have a poor self-image. They probably do, but I think people feel it more than think it. So let's look at some signals. We call it 5 signals of a poor self-image. And I want us to pay attention because it is in these signals that we can see ourselves. Most of us won't fess up to it. And so we can't fix it until we face it. So number 1, the first key, the first signal of a poor self-image is putting the blame on someone else. And now we're referring to pages 44 and 45 of the 12 Universal Laws of Success. Putting the blame on someone else. When you put the blame on someone else for your circumstances, it really puts you in a situation where you're not taking responsibility for your condition. And the challenge is that whatever you're going through, really, you must take responsibility for it because otherwise you can't fix it. Welcome, Kenya, my favorite personal trainer. How are you tonight? So when you put the blame on other people, you say, I didn't do it. It's not my fault. Well, then guess what? You can't solve the situation. Whatever situations you confront, if you put the blame on other people, then you will never get the opportunity to grow through them. And you'll find that you keep facing similar challenges time and time again. So in our lives, if we want to use this talk as a diagnostic, if you find yourself going through the same situation time and time again and blaming someone else for it, blaming some other condition for it. I'm tall, I'm short, I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm white, I'm black, I'm Democrat, I'm Republican. I grew up in a bad neighborhood. I had a bad childhood. All of these things. If you put the blame for your condition on someone else, you cannot change it. And more importantly, you can't grow through it. So when we flip the switch and say, how do I demonstrate a positive self-image, a strong self-image? I demonstrate that by taking responsibility for my condition. The second signal of a poor self-image is running away from your problems. I like to look at problems as challenges, running away from your challenges. When you are confronted by a challenge, you can do one of 4 things. You can flee it, and you see people go from job to job. Every job they get into within 90 days, oh, they didn't like me, they didn't treat me right, they wouldn't give me a raise. So they keep fleeing the very situation that's keeping them locked in that lack of growth, that inability to hold a job. You can fight it. When you fight it, it's like denial. You know, I am not in this situation. You can forget it. Now that's pure denial. You just pretended it does not exist, or you can face it. Now, whatever you do, there are always consequences. So if you take something simple like paying your light bill, you get the bill, you flee it. I am not using that much light anyway. You fight it. They're charging me too much. Okay. You forget it, put it in the drawer, I'll take care of it later. And then next month, you come home and you flip the switch and nothing happens. So when you run away from your problems, the key is you have to face it. Think of David and Goliath. Think of how the whole world would be different. The Bible would have a different story if instead of facing Goliath, David ran away like everyone else did. And so there's a symbolic understanding here. Whatever challenges confront you, you must face it and deal with it. Kenya said, this could be your opportunity. And that's a great point. When challenges come into your life, sometimes they're put there to give you an opportunity to grow. You know, the difference between a diamond and a piece of coal, if you look at the chemical composition, the formula for diamonds and coal. They're very similar. But the difference between a diamond and a piece of coal is pressure. That the pressure put on that stone causes the coal to turn into diamond. Similarly, when we face problems, when we face challenges, the pressure that's put on us by those problems or those challenges give us the opportunity to become diamonds, to build our confidence, to build our faith in ourselves. The third signal of a poor self-image: criticizing other people constantly. Woo, there's two sides of this. There's what you as the criticizer. Sometimes there are people who criticize other folks constantly. And when you criticize, really examine your motivation. Are you criticizing to uplift, to instruct, to motivate? Or are you criticizing out of envy, out of jealousy, out of thoughts of inferiority? Some people rise by rising. Some people rise by facing the challenges and growing through them so that they become better people. Other people rise by pushing others down. One of those whack-a-ball games. Criticizers are people who push other people down to rise. But guess what? If you push other people down to rise, you don't rise. And that's why you'll find that criticizers are always criticizing. And so if you find that you are always criticizing other people, then that may be a signal of a poor self-image in you. How do you know how people receive your criticism? You know, when you give somebody what you think is instructive information, if they never come back to you again to share another idea with you, that's a good sign that you're a negative criticizer. But if they come back, if you give them some advice, some recommendations, and a month later or 2 weeks later, they come back, they say, you know, you told me to do this, that, and the other. I was thinking about doing that. Maybe you could give me a little more information about it. When you give criticism and people come back to you for more, that's a good sign that it's positive criticism, that it's uplifting criticism, and that they're taking it properly. When you criticize others and it's not uplifting, it not only harms them, but it harms you, because it keeps you locked in this position. You never get that reverberation, that thankfulness that people give you when you've given them a jewel through constructive criticism. Number 4, waiting for someone else to solve your problems, waiting for someone else to solve your challenges. When you wait for someone else to solve your problems or to solve your challenges, you literally neutralize your own capacity, your own possibilities for learning. So you've literally given the solution to your situation to someone who's not there. Even more, to someone who may not care. My dad used to say, I don't share my situations with people, especially my problems, because half of the people don't care and the other half are glad I got the problem. Wow. Wow. Thanks, Kenya. God has equipped us with everything we need. Absolutely. So when we wait for someone else to solve our problems, we lose our ability to grow. It keeps us from taking action. If we never take action, we never grow. If we never take action on a situation, then we don't figure it out. There's a motivational speaker, a good friend of mine, Tawanna Williams. She's called the Hope Coach. And her mantra is figure it out. She was born with no arms. And so the world had a powerful message for her. There are a lot of things you cannot do and will not do and will never do. Writing, driving, having kids. But let me tell you something, because she used this capacity, our ability to solve our challenges, her mantra is figure it out. So if you have no arms, you learn how to write with your feet. You learn how to drive with your feet. You learn how to dress with your feet. In other words, you use what you have to get what you want. If you wait for someone else to solve your situation, then you will stay stuck. And that's a sign that you have a poor self-image. And then finally, the fifth key of a poor self-image is to pretend that everything is okay. When you pretend that everything is okay, and in a lot of the positivity thinking, possibility thinking philosophies, it's like always be up and always be, pumped up and positive. Yes, okay, that's a good thing. But when you pretend that everything is okay because you're ignoring the reality of your situation, when you don't pay your light bill and everything is fine, I got it covered, no problem, they're going to turn your lights off. When you don't handle the other things that confront you in life, if you don't deal with them and you pretend that everything is okay, you're going to always have to pay to the piper. When you pretend that everything is okay, you're literally deceiving yourself into inaction. You're deceiving yourself into mediocrity. You're choosing to not act. And you virtually eliminate all of the possibilities for success and achievement. So these 5 signals of a poor self-image, this is for a diagnostic system for you. If you've been going around in circles and getting results that you don't want over and over again, look at your self-image, because everything in life is filtered through your self-image. You may have a poor self-image, and to determine that, use these 5 questions. Do you put the blame on someone else? If you say yes, maybe a signal of a poor self-image. Do you run away from your problems? If you say yes, that may be a signal of a poor self-image. Do you criticize other people constantly? If you say yes, that may be a signal of a poor self-image. Do you wait for someone else to solve your problems? If you say yes, that may be a signal of a poor self-image. Do you pretend that everything is okay when it is not? It may be, and that may be you. That's another signal of a poor self-image. Wow. So with these 5 ideas, these 5 concepts, the thought emerges, okay, if I have a poor self-image, can I fix it? Can I improve it? And so tomorrow night, we're going to talk about how you can improve your self-image. If you see some of these 5 poor self-image indicators in yourself, then tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we're going to talk about what you can do to improve your self-image. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Remind you to be sure, if you don't have a copy of the recipe book for your success, get your copy of the 12 Universal Laws of Success. It's available on our website, herbertharris.com. It's also available on Amazon and all the other digital sites. But in addition to that, go to our website, herbertharris.com, and check out our home study course. Because as you begin to really apply the principles in the book and use the principles in the book, we found that the home study course, we call it the New You for the New Year home study course, gives you a track to run on to help implement the concepts in the book. It gives you a lesson 1 track that says, assess your situation, check out where you're at. What are your strengths and weaknesses? It gives you a lesson 2 situation where it says, okay, now we see where you're at. What changes do you have to make? And this idea of self-image, this is key. You have to make changes in your self-image to encourage yourself to be productive and powerful. Lesson 3 says, set some new goals. Once you change your self-image about yourself, you'll find that you can set new goals, higher goals, bigger goals. And then finally, lesson 4 in the home study course is commitment to action. Now that you have this information, how do you make a plan and take specific steps to get it done? Go to our website, herbertharris.com, click on the Home Study Courses tab, read more about the New You for the New Year Home Study Course, and get your copy. We're going to have our mastermind group that I'll be personally leading, and we'd love to have you a part of it. So once again, this is Dr. Herbert Harris with our Success Supper. Success at supper time, reading and discussion of the law of thought. And so I say to you that you can be wherever you want to be. You can do wherever you want to do. You can have anything you want to have, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is. Please share this broadcast with at least 3 other people. Write your comments. Write some of your thoughts on your self-image, things that you need to look at. The world needs to see them. You'll be able to help and heal somebody. And so it is. Let's sing our way all night.
Why everything seems so bad? So many sad faces gazing into space,
Waiting for somebody else to make the world a better place. Leave it up to the other man or to another day.
If anything goes down, be looking the other way. I say,
Come on, everybody. Come on, everyone. The time to love is here. Let these troubled days be done. I tell you, come on, everybody. Come on, everyone. The time to love is here. Let these troubled days be done. See you tomorrow night, 8 p.m.